الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
A hole and bury them with dignity. That's a rule in Islam. I didn't make it up. In fact, I couldn't believe it when I read it. Because it's Allah who creates all life. And it's Allah who commands what's right and what's wrong. And you give the respect and the dignity and the honor even when they don't give it to you. And that's a clear message to all of us today, because we are being treated very badly in a lot of places. And I know that. I've been there and I have seen it. But the answer is still the same, and Allah said, Inna Allaha ma'a sabarin. Allah will be with us only if we're patient. But we must be patient. We cannot bend the rules. We cannot change things hoping to make things work out better, because all we'll do is make it worse. It is up to us to understand the reality of the situation and give rights where rights are due. And there doesn't need an argument. That's clear. It's a clear statement. There are many other rights and responsibilities that go along with Islam. But the biggest one goes to Allah. Never make partners with Allah. So as I started, I end and mention that these rights and responsibilities have to be shown to the youth in a way that they can assimilate it and use it, so that as they grow older, they'll be able to use it and pass it on to the next generations. I invite all of you to come to our website and learn more about the rights in Islam. IslamTomorrow.com. That's IslamTomorrow.com. The website's open 24 hours a day and plenty of free parking. All right. You guys got it. And until next time, this is your host, Yusuf Estes, reminding you Allah is as-salam, the peace. So, salam alaikum. I fooled you. I left it recording. Okay. Question after question after question. If it wasn't your question, you're probably not going to listen. And that's a problem that we have, but it's a real problem. Somebody can ask a question about riba, but you say, well, that's not exactly my question, so I won't listen to the answer. So what I do, sum it up. If you want to know about riba, read the last part of Surah Baqarah. It's haram. Simple as that. You want to know about hijab? It's a requirement for ladies to dress. The code is clear. It's in the Quran. Chapter 24, verse 31. And chapter 33, verse 59. It's a dress code ordered by Allah. He didn't order a dress code for men in the Quran. He ordered that in the Sunnah, in the Hadith. Which group should you be in? You're going to ask this question about the madhab or madhahab. And there is a madhab that is correct. But it's not Hanafi. It's not Maliki. And it's not Shafi. And it's not Hanbali. And it's not Jafri. It's not. Because all of them were on the madhab of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so that's the only madhab that's acceptable. For the benefit of those who don't know what I'm talking about, madhab, it means school of thought or jurisprudence. Scholars have opinions. You say, I follow this scholar or that scholar. They didn't ask you to follow them. Show me where he said, follow me. You have to follow me. Which scholar said that? Because if he said it, he's not a scholar, is he? That's easy, isn't it? I'd like to quote at least one or two of the imams in their sayings. One of the great imams said, don't quote me. He's even said, don't quote me, because what I say tomorrow, I change my mind. Today, tomorrow I change my mind. And Imam Malik said, I forbid anybody to even take what I'm saying unless you know where I got it from. And all of them, Imam Shafi especially said, if the hadith is sahih, that's my madhab. They all said the same thing. So, which group? We have it on the website. We have an article that we wrote about it. Because I know some of you are going to say, yeah, but I want, okay, you want to read, good, I'm glad for you. I want you to do that. That's why I wrote the article. It's called Which Groups? And read what Allah called us in the Quran. Allah never called us Shiites or Sunnis in the Quran. Did you know that? He also didn't call us Sufis or Goofies. He also, what? He also didn't call us all these other names that come up. I don't need to give you a list, you know. And as far as somebody saying they're Wahhabi, that's haram to even say that. You know why? Who knows it's wrong to say that? Why? Why? That's the name of Allah. Al-Wahhab. Is it? Is that the name of Allah? Do you not remember I was just talking about in another section, don't make fun of Allah's names? And you're calling somebody a Wahhabi? You can't say it about yourself and you cannot say it about somebody else. Because it's Allah's name. Don't play with it. And by the way, the people who played with that were the enemies of somebody, but they didn't want to call him by his name, his followers by his name, so they called it by his father's name. His name, he lived 270 years ago, his name was Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab. But they don't call him Abdul Wahhabis, or bin Abdul Wahhabis, or Mohammedans, because they know you could catch them in what they're saying. But these were the enemies to this particular scholar and his teachings. What he was saying is that basically you shouldn't worship people in their graves, and you shouldn't worship the grave site, and you shouldn't build these big temples in there to go to. And his followers tore down those places in the graveyards, and they became so angry that instead of dealing with the fact, he brought the proof. But they didn't like it, so they insulted him, and they wrote books against him. Because it messed up their Sufi tariqas. Okay? So they did that, and they lied, and they keep on lying until today. But I've read his books. He's got the best book I ever read, translated to English, on Tawheed, and it's called Kitab al-Tawheed. How many of you heard about it? Did you find anything wrong in it? He quoted the book of Allah. And they can't argue with that, so they just said a label, Wahhabi. And some people call themselves Wahhabi and they think it's good. I'm saying either way it doesn't work. Whether you say it because you think it's good or think it's bad, either way, it's the name of Allah. It doesn't have any business in this subject. Salafi. I know that some brothers are going to say, hold on, man. Salaf Salih. Come on, baby. What you talking about now? You going to tell me about the hadith of Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he was dying? And he mentioned about the Salaf Salih on his deathbed. The people who will be the followers of the righteous predecessors. Anybody know what I'm talking about? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sheikh, you know? The point is, it means people who were before you were dead. I don't think you really want to call yourself that. Are you saying you're dead? Are you saying you're Salih? You wish, but you don't have the right to say it. Proof? What did Allah say to the Bedouins in Surah Al-Hujurat? What did He say to them? When the ignorant Arabs living in the desert made Shahada and they said, now we're mu'min. Hey. And Allah told them, don't say that. Who said it? Allah. He told them, don't say that you are mu'min because Iman has not yet entered your qalb, your heart. Just say you're Muslim. Just say we have Islamed. Is that fact or no? So the best that we can say about ourselves is we're Muslim, And that's what Allah called us so many times that I quoted Him on that article. It's called Which Groups. And if you want to go straight to it, you can do so. islamtomorrow.com/Which Groups Point HTM. Read the whole article. But also be aware that these labels are exactly what have divided us. A lot of people complain about the British because in northern Africa and even in India when they cut up the section and called it Pakistan, you blame them because they cut up the geography on a map and drew lines and then said, oh, Libya, Tunisia, Maghreb, Egypt, Algeria, sorry. All of it's there, right? And these are countries, right? All of a sudden you got an excuse to be against somebody because he's from there and you're from here. Same surah. Same exact surah. Allah said what? That He created us all from a single, and from the single the mate, and from these two He brought all the nations and tribes. He made us different so that we would what? Slaughter each other? Kill each other? Insult each other? Call each other kafir? No, so we'd recognize each other. You're killing yourselves and you're killing your children from this stupid idea. And you've done worse than the British ever did, or anybody ever did to us. We did a lot worse to ourselves by these stupid names. The Prophet ﷺ was very clear about this. He said, I leave you with two things. If you stick to that, stick to those two things. What did he mean? The Quran and what? His Sunnah. But you don't call yourself Sunnis. Because if you do, you're going to find another idiot group who are going to call themselves Quranis. We just follow the Quran. How many of you know there is a group like that today? They're called, they have a website, submission.org. Have you ever seen that round thing that has a string on it and the kids play with it and goes up and down? What do you call it? Yeah, that's what I said. When you say these names, you're dividing us. But if you say Islam and Muslim, then we unite right away. Who do you think called us Sunnis first? The Shiites. We didn't call ourselves that. But by giving us the label, then they have an excuse. You're Sunni, I'm Shiite. But if we both said we're Muslims and you're Muslims, you have an opinion about this, the fitna which took place. Maybe somebody else has another opinion, but you're still Muslims. But as soon as you do this thing, you can start calling each other kafir. And that's exactly what happens. That's from shaitan. Shaitan, both sides have to agree that shaitan, the devil, is behind the splitting of the Muslims. Yes or no? If you said, I'm going to side with Muawiyah on the issue, you'll be wrong, by the way. But that's from shaitan. And the siding with Ali against the Muslims, they were right in the end. But did you know there were some Sahabi who didn't take a side either way? We were talking about it in the car today. Remember that? Who was it you said? He didn't, Sa'ad bin Abi Waqqas. He said, I'm not there on this one. Right? Because Muslims are fighting Muslims. That's why it was called by the next generation, they called it the fitna. The horrible time when Muslims fought against Muslims and some got killed. Who did it? We did it to ourselves. This is amazing. How can you look and blame, let's blame the Jewish, let's blame the Christians, let's blame... Why? Nobody need to blame them. Just look what you do to yourself. The fact that they get all happy when you do it, but that's not meaning they did it. We did it to ourselves. Nobody can destroy the Muslims. Nobody except the Muslims. You want me to prove it to you? Afghanistan. A year ago, or a little over a year now. Who went in the ground, on the ground, footwork, and killed Muslims? Other Muslims, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The non-Muslims didn't have the guts to go in there. Other Muslims. Oh, they don't mind flying over, pushing buttons. That's no big. Here we go. Here we go. I got one. And give me a big award or something, put a button on me. Oh, look at this. He's very brave. Pushing them buttons. But on the ground patrol, who will go in? And stop and think about it. That's where it's really at. The Muslims fighting the Muslims, we're killing ourselves. You want to do it with label, you want to do it with geography, you want to do it with politics, it all comes down to the same thing. We have lost everything because of this. Allah has taken the success away from us because of this. The logical question, if Islam is as great as it is, it looks fantastic in the books. When you read about Islam, when you study Islam with a sheikh, you get so excited, your heart is pounding, you're saying, this is it, this is a solution to every problem in the universe. The power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is solve everything. You can see it. And then you got to go, but what happened? Why are you guys like this? Why are you in such a shape? And when I ask them, they hang their heads. I said, I can't hear you. What are you saying? What happened, guys? And one of them looked at me and said, well, it's because the women stopped wearing hijab. Maybe not. How do you respond to that question? Is Islam correct, yes or no? Does it have the solution to every problem in it, yes or no? Then how do you explain the condition of the Muslims today? Very simple. They're not following Islam. Bottom line, don't blame Islam for what Muslims do. Because Allah never took away our free choice. We still have free choice. And always will to the very end. But when we don't follow Islam and say it's Islam, duh. Did the Prophet ﷺ forbid women to ride a camel? Donkey? I'm not calling you a donkey. I'm saying, did he forbid them to ride a donkey? Did he? Horse? Cow? Is there any transportation that he forbid them to ride on? Because I'm trying to find an answer to a problem. Can a woman drive a car? Can a woman drive a car? Well, according to the people who attack Islam, Islam says women can't drive cars. And they'll quote it to you right out of the Saudi newspaper. Yes or no? But it's not Islam. And even when they asked the scholars told them, no, it's not Islam. They said, well, we have our reasons, blah, 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 blah. But regardless of what their reason is, and they may be right or not, that's not our point. Our point is, don't say it's Islam. It's not Islam. Islam does not oppress women. Never did, never will. Muslims do. But Muslims oppress each other. They oppress themselves. Yes or no? Duh. So these are some of the things I know you ask about in your questions, but understand that a lot of the questions that you throw out are loaded with garbage. We're answering harsh questions against Islam right now, against the attackers, against us. And they come to us with questions like, well, if Islam is so great, then how come Muslims are having problems everywhere? Have you heard it? That's one of the questions. How come in every Muslim country, their question to us, how come in every Muslim country you have Muslims who are doing this and doing that and doing so and so and so and so and so? And either way you look at it. Number one, the leadership is not really Muslim. Duh. Or if they are, they're not really following Quran and Sunnah. Duh. Or the other side of it, the result the Muslims are living under is not Islam. Is that right or wrong? Okay. Another question. How come you guys have 4 wives? And your women only have 1 husband? Anybody heard that one? Raise your hand if you heard a question like that. Keep your hand up if you have 4 wives. It's a non-question. That's a non-question. Ladies, does anybody here want to know why? You really want to know, be honest, you really would like to know why a man can have 4 but a woman can only have 1? Raise your hand if you have this question. Yes, sister, are you married? Okay, I want you to picture your husband in your mind right now. Just imagine him right now. You got it in your mind? What he's like, what he does, how he is. Would you like another one just like him? Then why do you talk about 4? Thank you. Next question. That's not the answer. By the way, I'm just having fun. That is the name of this section, having fun with Islam, by the way. Yes or no? Yeah. What I'm saying is that in reality, we don't even understand the meaning behind it. Did I mention to you Islam is about rights? Did I mention that? We just had a segment about that. And if Islam is about rights, I need to know who's getting the short end of the stick here. Women or men? Watch this. Look at it from another perspective. We live here, we can't imagine what it's like to live somewhere else. If you travel around the world, you get a better perspective. But I'm going to ask you, can you really be subjective? Objective? No, I meant to say objective. Can you be objective when you're so subjective? Meaning that you live in Canada, it's hard to imagine what it's like in Mexico. But how about this? You live on the earth. So how could you imagine what it's like to live on Mars? And if somebody lived on Mars, how could they imagine what it's like to live on Earth? You understand yet? Now let's look at the question another way. At the time the ruling came in Islam, are you aware that there was no limit anywhere about how many wives a man could have? There was no limit. So when the order came, get this out of your mind. It didn't come like this. Okay, everybody go out and get 4 wives. It didn't say that. It came as a limitation, and it came as a responsibility and rights. And the rights, first of all, were to who? Because you have to go to the ayah before it so you don't take it out of context. It's in Surah An-Nisa, and it's saying the whole ayah, just read the whole ayah. And if you fear that you cannot deal with them in justice, whoa, excuse me, and, you started a word, and, I mentioned that today in another program we were talking about. When you hear an ayah start with a wow, you have to go behind it to find out what it's about. And if you feel you can't, deal with who? Go back and read the other ayah. It's talking about the inheritance of underage girls. Maybe that somebody, in one of the tafsirs, I was just reading it again yesterday, or the day before. Yesterday I spent in the airport. And it said, suppose, it's given the understanding that it's talking about a man who said he wants this money from these girls, these underage girls, to the extent he might marry their mother. Because they're orphans, their father's dead. He might marry the mother so he can get the inheritance from the girls. Or he might marry the girls, even though they're underage or they're very small. Because they could do that, there was no limit. And then he could take the money for himself. And people used to just swallow up the inheritance of these girls. And Allah said, if you fear that you cannot deal with them justly, and He's talking about inheritance in the ayah, yes or no? Then marry women of your choice by 2. You can have 2 wives. Or 3. You could have 3. Or 4 wives. You could have 4. But then look what Allah said. He put another limit. Another condition. 4 now is the maximum. There's a limit there. But look at this limit. He said, if you can treat them with equal justice, fair, money. Otherwise, marry only one. Who said that? Allah said that. Now, ask yourself a question. Today, here in Calgary, Alberta, how many of you married? Raise your hands, brothers. No, not the wannabes. Put your hand. I'm talking just the some very excited brothers here tonight. You're married, and do you have to work to support that wife? Is it hard? You have to have a job, yes or no? How many of you are working 2 jobs? You have more than one job. That means if you took another wife, you'd have to go get 2 more jobs. Yes or no? She's entitled to what the other wife's entitled to. And it's taking you 2 jobs now to take care of one, yes or no? So that means now you're going to have 4. You want 4 wives? What is that, 16 jobs or something? I don't know. Give up. And what happened exactly is this, that over those centuries, men, first of all, let's start in the beginning. First of all, some Sahabi had to divorce some of their wives. How many of you knew that? So it was the opposite of what you think. They didn't run out and go, hey, wives. They already had that. They were saying, oh no, too many wives. And they had a divorce. 4 was the limit, yes or no? So it wasn't funny. These are not a bunch of, I don't want to use that word. These are not a bunch of excited guys running around chasing after women. You knew what the word was. Shame on you. Anyhow. I didn't know brown people could turn red. Anyway. Yeah, he's not going to talk to me tonight. Anyhow, what I'm saying is that the next thing is that over the 1400 years, Muslims became monogamous by natural attrition. It wasn't that if Allah would have said you can only have one, probably some people might have left Islam. And probably there would have been a lot of hardship for a lot of women as well. But now, I've been in so many Muslim countries, if I bring up the subject of 4 wives, they usually fall over laughing. Laughing. Indonesia, I said, in Indonesia, do you have 4 wives? They're laughing at me. In Pakistan, they didn't laugh, they said, Egypt, they laugh. Of course, they laugh about everything in Egypt. Sad. Sad. But let's now look something for you, sister. Islam is about rights. Today, we're almost to the point of a hadith of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He said in the last days, one man would be responsible for 50 women. How many of you heard the hadith? Okay, then you know that. Today we have over 30 women for every man on earth. Is it possible that they could all get a nice husband? It's not even possible they could all get a husband, is it? And how would you know? Who would you take? You said, this guy's not married. Grab him. Why? Because that's all there is. Take him. And then you come to find out, oh, woo. And I'm married to him. Yeah, that's what you would feel like. But look what happens in Islam. You can look and see this man, how he treats his wife. And the Prophet ﷺ even advised the woman not to marry such and such a person because he was bakhil, stingy. And not to marry another one because he beats his wives. We just talked about that today too. Did he or didn't he do it? He gave him this advice. So it means she could marry this man knowing walking in the door what his shortcomings are. Of course, if she likes to get by with no clothes and just want to sit around with no money, she might like that. Or if she'd like somebody to beat her up all the time, she might like that. But more than likely, she could say, look at this guy. He's very religious. He's very kind, he's very gentle, and he has a nice house for his wife. If he takes me, I get a kind, nice husband with a nice house, and I like that. Make sense? Huh? And now finally, watch this. A man can choose from any woman, right? As long as she has no husband. Talking about Muslims. They can choose from any Muslim as long as she has no husband, right? So that's a limit, yes or no? That's a big limit, yes or no? She's married. It's off subject. Don't even say anything. But you, on the other hand, can choose from any single man or any married man as long as he doesn't have 4. So who has got the biggest rights here? Who has the most choices? Nobody said you had to marry him, and nobody says you have to stay married to him. If he decides he wants another wife, tell him go ahead. In fact, you'll still have room for 3 more after her, because guess what? Hope your math is good. Every brother here knows that. But there's a point that I think you ladies know better than we do. Men are nothing but big boys. That's all they are. And sometimes men feel like, oh, wow, what? If I had another chance, probably I could have, yeah, right. Well, let him have his little daydream. Let him have his imagination. I'm going to get another wife. Because it's a whole lot safer than him going out here and chasing after a prostitute or a mistress. If he wants to get another wife, let him go through the process. Let him talk to his buddies. And finally, he'll come up against somebody like me. He'll say, you do. You what? You are joking, right? And then what's he going to say? Because I'm going to remind him of how many jobs he already has. You already got one house you can't pay for. You're looking for a fetwa so you can get refinancing on it. So what are you going to do when you get another wife? Oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And he'll get over it. And you find it's very nice, and husband and wife live very well together in Islam. So ladies, don't panic. Some of you are new to Islam, and your husband starts talking about another wife. Don't panic. Don't panic. If he feels like he can handle it, tell him, yes, very good for you. And feed him a lot of fish and oysters, Like one sister, she said, well, you know what? It should be because she's going to be a co-wife with me. I should help you pick her out because I'm going to live with her too. I'm going to be seeing this lady and she's sharing my husband. It makes sense? He said, yeah. She said, okay, I got a lady I want you to come meet. Her name is Bertha. She's real sweet. By the way, in Texas, when you say a girl's real sweet, she weighs 400 pounds. Don't argue with him. You'll push him right toward it. Tell him, go ahead. Am I right? Islam is right. There's nothing wrong with Islam. It's just our understanding is weak. But by and large, look at this. Islam preaches that there's no such thing as a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. Ever. There's no such thing as sex outside of marriage in Islam. If they do it before they're married, the punishment is lashes. It's very harsh. If they do it after they're married, the punishment's death. And by the way, it's in the Bible, the same thing. So this is a part of the monotheistic religion, and any Christian who attacks you on that point has just attacked his own religion. So there's nothing there to argue about. There's no sex outside of marriage, and that's that. That's final. I noticed in the newspaper the other day a horrible thing that they're doing now in the schools in the States is they have an examination that they're giving to students. They volunteer for it, and only a very few opt not to take it. But they have to answer questions, asking these kids in middle school questions like, when was the last time you had a partner, and blah, 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 and did you do X and Y, and did you do Z, and blah, 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 and I don't want to tell you the things. It's in the newspaper, a public newspaper. You buy it. It's not a trash magazine. I guess it's a trash newspaper. But it tells you, I can't say what it said, that they're asking these children in public school. They said they need it for statistics. If you saw the questions, you'd be so shocked. You'd say, I don't want anybody to talk to my little sister, my little brother, with these words. They have no problem. In Islam, if anybody answered yes to any of the questions that were there, trust me, they'd be in serious trouble. But the way they worded it, when the kids were done taking the little quiz, they felt like, well, gee, I'm not getting out and doing enough here. I'm not normal. You know what? I don't even know what those parts of the body were called. They have no problem. In Islam, if anybody answered yes to any of the questions that were there, trust me, they'd be in serious trouble. But the way they worded it, when the kids were done taking the little quiz, they felt like, well, gee, I'm not getting out and doing enough here. I'm not normal. You know what? I don't even know what those parts of the body were called. I will mention this part of it to you. Same sex. They ask a lot of questions about that to these kids. The last time you were with same-sex, as though what? My God! And these are the people going to question Islam? Wow. The part that hurts the most is knowing that Islam is absolutely perfect. Nothing wrong with it. But seeing Muslims starting to question it themselves. That hurts. We were talking about rights. And I'm telling you that if you really give Allah His rights, and give the Messenger ﷺ his rights, and give your parents their rights, it only follows that you will naturally give the rights. Allah, He'll guide you. And you'll see, you'll understand. But a lot of times the questions that I get from you, and I get thousands of them, okay? The way the question is worded, I can already understand part of the problem. The people who come to me and say, why is it that your prophet was 53 years old and he had sex with a 6-year-old girl? How many of you heard that question? Too many. How would you answer the question? Who would like to try to answer that one? Anybody? You'd like to answer it? Or you think you can answer it? I wouldn't like to even talk to the person after they said that. You notice what's wrong with the question? It has mistakes in the question. First of all, it's not 6, it's 9. How many of you noticed that? But you know how they did it? It's real easy if you know Arabic. You change the literal letters to English. Tissa was sitta. Same letters, just switch them around. You can fool somebody who doesn't know. Sitta, tissa. 9, 6. No difference. That's one. Yeah. You think these people are just playing? What's the other one? The question itself has a huge problem in it. What did it say? It said he had sex. What did that imply? No marriage. Was he married to her? Who was it? Actually, it's nobody, because there's no such thing as 6 years old. That's not real. So it's not even a deal. You could stop them right there. You can say, okay, I'll tell you real easy. That never happened. Next question. They got to go come up with some proof, don't they? Let me tell you, we've answered these questions, and we have them recorded. By the way, if you want them, you can have them. When we give the answer to the wives thing, I did that as a program in Toronto. The sisters liked it better than anybody. They were going crazy about it. They thought it was fabulous, because in the whole program there's some jokes in it and everything. But the one about the wives, I didn't joke around with that too much because I was really upset with the question when it came. I spent actually not just a few hours, but days writing the answer for that, and then published it. Because this answer is very, very important. Look how many things you can cover with this answer. First of all, you say your question has problems in it. But still, it's my responsibility as a Muslim to answer your question. And as a Muslim, I must always tell the truth. I have to tell the truth. That's a requirement as a Muslim. So I'm going to tell you that. The next thing is that when you ask a question, if it has something wrong with it, don't we have to straighten it out? For instance, if I went to you, and you're talking to them, and I went to you, and I said to you, by the way, can you answer me yes or no? Is your mother out of jail yet? My mother's not in jail. No, yes or no? Is your mother out of jail? Well, my mother's not in jail. Oh, I'm glad she got out. What could he say? And that's a hard thing to tell somebody something like that, because that's evil, that's mean, that's rude to talk like that, isn't it? Isn't it? To say something like that. You're saying something that's not true in the question. Either I'm going to accept it and try to answer that, which is wrong, or else I'm going to try to dispute with you in the question, and that's not going to work. We have to clean the question up. Let's do that. The next thing I have to ask you is, where did you get this statement from? Because in Islam, for us, we don't consider something to be true unless we know where it came from. Did you get it in a dream? Because if you did, we're not going to take it. If you pulled it off the internet, that's as bad as dreaming. I want to know what's the source for what you said. You've said a monstrous thing here. Where did you get this from? And you know what I want them to say? I want them to say it's in Hadith. I want them to say that. You know why? Because I want to introduce a beautiful subject to them called Rawaya. Because they don't realize that the whole society that we have today hinges on the science of Hadith. There wouldn't be this university here that you're sitting in if it weren't for the science of Hadith. How many of you know that? Because science as we know it today is to take information and test it against reality and see if it holds water or not. Yes or no? That's science, isn't it? You check and you recheck and you check and you recheck, and that's how you determine what's up and what's down. Yes or no? And you never agree in science on something illogical, do you? This is what? Up. I'm pointing up. What is that? It's up. Huh? In all societies, that's up, right? And that's down. If that's down and that's up, we're never going to have a logical argument where you're going to come along and switch it and say, well, today that's going to be up and that'll be down. Right? It's called logic. And science is based on something called proof, right? And how we know is from the science of Hadith. The pattern used to test to see if something's true was used by Imam Bukhari and Imam Muslim, who was his student. And all of the great shuyukh until this day rely on that science to find out, did he say it? Did he do it? Did he approve of it? Did he forbid it? This is the science of Hadith. Is that right? Did you know that Scotland Yard in England based exactly their science of criminology on the same thing? Did you know that? Well, they didn't either. So when you tell them that, they go, really? Yes. Did you ever read Sherlock Holmes? It's a fictitious character, but the methodology, the manhaj is the same. Take information and compare it against truths. And when something doesn't work, you don't accept it. They're saying, yeah, but I don't understand. Because what I'm going to tell you is, this hadith that you're talking about is something we understand real well. And I'm going to be the first one to tell you I believe it more than you believe it. Because you're not even sure there was somebody named Muhammad. But I am. I'm positive there was. You're not even sure there was somebody named Jesus, but I'm positive that there was. You're not positive there was somebody named Moses or Abraham, and I'm positive there was. Because you don't know how to check this. And they're going, huh? What? Many Christians, and I've read their books, think that Abraham is like a made-up guy that they just referred to. It maybe didn't even exist. It's true. A lot of Christians say, well, it's the spirit of Jesus. We don't really know if he lived in or though. It doesn't really matter. Really? I never met a Muslim, though, who didn't believe that Muhammad ﷺ really was a person who walked on the earth. Because we have a proof. That's Islam. It's based on proof. Dalil. What's the dalil? The hadith. What does the hadith say? What's the first words of every hadith? Do you know? The first word in every hadith says what? No. On the authority of somebody. Isn't that how they all start? And the hadith about the marriage of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam to Aisha radiallahu anha always start out with what? On Aisha. She's the one that told the story. The hadith you're bringing me is by her. Yes or no? They don't know what you're talking about. Because you bring the hadith and show them she said that when she was about 9 years old, tissa, not sitta, that she was playing and her parents called her inside. Who called her inside? Did the Prophet ﷺ call her inside and say, hey, come on over here, I got a lollipop for you? Astaghfirullah. This is the way they're bringing it. It's her parents. And by the way, both parents. Something the people in the Western society don't understand because they don't have both parents. Either they're not married anymore or they never were in the first place. You want to call the kettle black? I got some news for you. They're going, whoa. You're the one bringing the nasty question. You want to straighten it out? We'll straighten it out. Next. She said they called her in and talked to her about that when she's old enough that the Prophet ﷺ is making an offer and that Father Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu is offering marriage to him of his daughter. But Allah said in the Quran that nobody can force the girls to get married against their will. Surah An-Nisa. Yes or no? Yes. Therefore, she's not old enough. She couldn't make the decision. She went back outside and continued playing with her dolls. Yes or no? And that it was a couple of years later, when she was old enough to have children, that he came back and they talked about it again, and the father went and made the arrangement with the Prophet ﷺ, and then they went to her and asked her, and she agreed. Yes or no? Yes. She was an old enough girl to have babies, and her parents were contracting the marriage. Yes or no? In the state of Louisiana, you can do it today with a 12-year-old girl, no problem, if her parents sign a consent form. Yes or no? And what is your point? And did they run out and have sex right away? No, because we have some more hadith right here by the same An Aisha radiallahu anha. You want to take one? Do you take everything she says or none or some? Which one? Because if you're going to introduce, this is slander, baby. And you take that in a court of law, I'll be the judge. Come on, bring it. This witness right now, witness, you accept this witness on saying this? Do you accept everything she says, yes or no? If you say no, she's a hostile witness. We don't take it. Are you going to take everything she said, yes or no? Because either she's a credible witness or she's not. I just want you to tell me, are you going to take everything she says, yes or no? If he says no, then it's the moot point. Then don't bring any of it. If If he says yes, then good, I'm glad. Let's take all of it. Because one of the things she said was, La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Does that mean you're going to accept that too? He said, what does that mean? It means that when I'm done with the answer to this question, you're going to be at the fork in the road in your life. You're going to have to make a decision. Are you prepared for that? Because you're going to have to rethink your entire life structure based on this question that you just asked. Because when it's over, you will have to rethink your position. And if you find out that there's something wrong with your thinking, something wrong with the way that you're bringing questions and attacking someone who turns out to be somebody great, then what will you say? What will you do? Are you prepared to rethink your position? Are you prepared to worship God without any partners? Yes or no? And they're going, whoa, man, what are you talking about? No, I just want to know. You want the answer to the question? Because I'm going to give you the answer. But I'm just asking you, are you prepared for the answer? Yeah, sure, go ahead. I hope he says yes. By the way, many of them have made shahada afterwards. One of them came to us with a harsh question when we were over in London, Ontario. He asked the question, why do you worship a black box in the desert? We give the answer right there, just like you're sitting here. He was right there beside me. He stood up and made shahada. It's recorded. We had another one. I was also in London, Ontario, but the night before I left, last time. He stood up and made his shahada while we were broadcasting online. What I'm telling you is when people see the truth, they're the ones going to have a problem, not you. Why would you be shy to tell people about Islam? Why are you shy? Because you don't know what's Islam, that's why. You don't understand what it's there for. You didn't understand that 4 wives was for the women. You didn't understand that this was to show the marriage to the Rasulullah for any of his wives is to show examples of what's halal and haram in marriage. And one of them is you couldn't get married to a girl until she's old enough to make the decision. And the parents can't decide for her. It has to be her free will. And then, and this is the next hadith, that she said that when they got married, that he began very what? Gentle and kind, and they had fun together and ran and played together before there was any sex. Hello, how about that? That they used to run and she used to beat him in a race, but when she got older she was heavy and she couldn't beat him in the last days when they were married together. Then what happened? He used to beat her. Is that true or false? And she used to like to tease him and do stuff. Like making him stand a long time in the doorway so she could peek over and watch guys playing in the masjid when she didn't really care about that. She just wanted to see how long he'd stay there. And how about the time when she and Hafsa and some of the others got together and decided, hey, you know what? Zainab, I think, had the honey, right? And the Prophet ﷺ would go get the honey from her and said, let's tell him that it makes his breath smell bad. And that way he won't do it, and then he'll come with us more time. Just, fooling around, foolishness that women like to do. And guess what? The Prophet ﷺ got real serious and he thought, well, if my breath smells bad, it's haram. He made honey haram. And then all of a sudden Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed Surah At-Tahrim. Yes or no? Oh, my Prophet. Look out. And he told him, you don't make halal and haram around here. Yeah. Allah is threatening even the Prophet ﷺ on this subject. So that's for us too. Don't make halal and haram. Many things came with Aisha radiallahu anha. Wonderful things. Tayammum came from her. The gossip that was spread around, that was cleared up in Surah An-Nur to defend her by Allah, came from Aisha radiallahu anha. Tell them, let them see the beauty of the marriage of Islam. I'm not going to give you the whole answer on this one. I'm going to go to the end of it. The end of it, after I've told them all the things that she said. Are you going to take what she said because she's the one that told us when they got married? Are you going to take it, yes or no? She said this. Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with this? He's going, yeah, I didn't know that. And at the very end, I have the biggest one for you. Let's take all of these hadith from her and take her name and Muhammad's name, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, off of the hadith. And let's remove any identification of the time period, and let's go to any social worker that you know. Let's go to any psychologist, counselor, or psychiatrist, or doctor, or sex maniac, crudhead on Oprah Winfrey or Jerry Springer, and ask them, what do they say about this? And they're going to say, you wish you had a life mate like that. And then what will you do? You wish you had that relationship. SubhanAllah. And they're crying. They're saying, I didn't know. And say, I'm not blaming you. I'm asking you to consider where you got the question from. Because that was Shaitan himself. Whoever you got it from, that was the devil himself. Because everybody who knows the Arabic language, such as the Coptic Christians that translated that and put it on the website that you got it from, and I know where it came from, they know better and they don't care because they know they're worshiping other than Allah. You don't think I know where it came from? Because I got all of their questions. They hit me with 50 of them at one time 4 years ago. 50. A lot. Maybe not 50. A lot of them. They were all the same way. All very hateful. And pretending that they're Muslim. I'm a new Muslim and I just have these few questions. You say, what? How are you a brand new Muslim and you're knowing about hadith that even the ulama doesn't even know is there? Huh? Yeah, right. Yeah, thanks a lot. So this is a word of advice. When you get these kind of questions, take it easy and be patient. Because these same people could be just like me. When I came to Islam, I didn't come that way. I didn't come up to Islam saying, oh, I'd like to be a Muslim today. You have time for me? I'm asking a man in his face, do you believe in God? You ever hear of Abraham? By the way, this brother that brought me to Islam, if you'd like to know a little sample of the subject, he's from the Ahl Bayt, from Ali. Yes, his family traces themselves all the way back to Ali. Ali traces all the way back to Abraham, alayhi salam. And Abraham, of course, you can trace back to Adam. And I'm asking a man, did he ever hear of Abraham? He could have said, yeah, it's my grandfather. But he didn't. He said, yes, I've heard of him. Look at that. I'm telling you, dawah is a special thing. It's a very, very delicate field. Be careful. Don't insult these people. When you go in chat rooms, don't call people names and stuff. Trust me. You're going to see a lot of people coming to Islam in the very near future. You can be a part of it or not. Up to you. It's not because of me. I know it's not. In fact, it's in spite of me that I see so many people come to Islam. Thousands, alhamdulillah, come to Islam. They come through our website. They come through the tapes. They come through the CDs. We're getting people all the time who want Islam a lot more than the born Muslims do. There's a hunger out there for this. They need it. You can pick up any newspaper and see the disease that's in this society. And Islam has the answer. These people need what you have. But you've got to take the time to learn it and teach it. You must do that. And the youth, you're the ones that we're looking for. You can do this. Because you still have time. Once you get married, once you have children, your excuse is going to be, I'm too busy. But right now you can turn off the TV and spend a little bit more time studying the Quran, studying the Hadith. You can leave those video games alone and spend some time with the Shaykh. I'm serious. This is not a part-time thing. We're not going to call it deen intensive, okay? It's just plain out life. It's right in front of you. All you got to do is switch off the TV and go to work. It's as simple as that. And by the way, it's free. I didn't charge you anything for it. It's there. Islam is there if you want it. It's there if you don't want it. Well, that's your choice. But somebody's going to do it. And the Prophet ﷺ said that the last day will not come until Islam has entered every single house on the earth. And that was at a time when people didn't even know the earth was round. And he said it. It will enter every house on the earth. Somebody in every house on the earth is going to know about Islam. And we're there. And there's going to be people who are going to rise up and they're going to defend Islam. Whether it's you or somebody else, it doesn't matter. It's going to happen. Hadiths are there. But they're not going to do it in a flaky way. They're not going to do it in a sneaky way. They're going to run around here building backyard bombs and blowing up somebody's car. Okay, just in case you're wondering what my position is on that, it's stupid. For sure, Allah will bring success to the real believers. And that's real close. How close? I don't know. But it's close. One hadith, by the way, listen to this. Part of a big hadith mentions in the last day that a man's extremities will talk to him. And his side will inform him of what's going on in his house while he is away. How many of you heard that hadith? Where do you keep your cell phone? Where do you keep your pager? One brother said, no, but women keep theirs in their purse. Right, and where do they carry their purse? On their side. Hello. Okay. Oops. It's this close. And he said when you see the signs coming, it's going to be like you break a string of pearls and they go right off. That close. We've been talking about the fun you can have in Islam. You're going, whoa, wait a minute, that's not the subject. You were talking about some different subject here. No, I'm not. I'm telling you the best way to have fun in Islam. You know what it is? Just learn about it and live like a Muslim. That's a lot of fun for me. How many of you had fun tonight? How many of you would have paid if it would have cost money? You know you're safe. We can't charge you. So, alhamdulillah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave us the deen. It's a nama, a favor. But it's amana, it's a trust. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide all of us. May He put us in the right way here and in the next life. Ameen. You're listening to Islam tomorrow. I'm not recording it, so I don't have to shut it off. You're listening to Islam tomorrow, and that's the end of that program.
Takbir! Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.